Um, I'll wait for Max and Matthias, but this is us for the day. The plan is just we've had three different discussions, so I hope everybody has a couple of pointers, and then we just discuss them in as much or as little detail as everybody's comfortable, and then we can decide kind of what things we as a club want to implement straight away, what things we can look to implement later, what things maybe you as a coach want to implement, but maybe we as a club don't have a say. We don't want to. We don't not want to. So that's the kind of idea. But yeah. So as soon as Matthias finishes his smoke break, then we will get started. Max, are you camera shy? Maybe Max is on a smoke break too. Does Max smoke? No. Okay. Coffee break.
Just weed like everybody.
Just weed. We all need that.
Nabil?
Yes, sir.
How often do the under 14 and under 19 practice a week? So every day?
So when we come back, my plan is at the moment for the first 2, maybe 3 weeks, that the under 14s will practice 2 times and the under 19 will practice 3 times. Just because I don't, there's a couple of reasons. Number one is I want to keep 48 hours in between every practice. That's the first reason I want to do. The second reason is I want to make sure that we have 2 good practices, which is better than 3 or 4 mediocre practices. So I feel like they haven't practiced for 4 months. I know for sure the kids will want to play. They will push themselves. So I want to give their bodies enough time to recover before the next practice. And that will help me avoid injuries. So my plan for the first 2 weeks is just to manage the practices, try and manage the intensity. And if I feel like we're in good shape, we go to 3, maybe offer them an individual so we can build it up. So that's my plan. But plans can be broken, so we will see.
How many kids do you have in under 14?
At the moment, I think I have about 30, because with Swans I have 19, and then VKL is obviously there. It's going to be 1 team, not 2 teams. So they've got 11, and yeah, that makes it 30 guys.
Are you gonna divide, or is this like everybody practices at the same time?
You mean in practice, or you mean as a team?
Maybe both.
I think initially, as a team that play games, it's going to be 1 team. As a team that play games, Matthias is not able to coach because of his school commitments. So then I'm the only person who's going to coach games and stuff, and there's no way we can I cannot split myself that much. But I also don't think 30 will show up consistently.
Yeah.
So,
my initial thought was, like, when I heard, okay, there's so many kids, was that's a pity, because it's so much risk, and like I would rather have to really narrow it down, to the core of the team and really make good practices, as you just said, and maybe have something else for the other kids, still they can play at least in the gym, but not bringing 30 kids together is for me like such a big risk.
Yeah.
And there's so much at stake.
I mean, I would agree with you, and this is kind of the before we go off in a tangent, but my biggest disappointment was they did not let us, they're saying we can practice if we commit to playing OMS. So if you're saying we can practice, that means it's safe. Then let us control our practices. Let us get our kids ready before we play games. So I would have loved to have practices with kids not playing games. And then we organize our own tournaments. We manage the comeback slowly, how we decide. But it's almost like, no, you have to be playing OMS. And then we can't tell. It is unfair to say to these kids you can't practice and these kids you can.
Yeah.
And I guess then that's the problem. But yeah, I would agree. I think it would have been a little bit better to manage that. So
but I think what Max is saying, why not have 4 practices a week, I guess,
Yeah.
for U14, and 2 practices for the ones that won't play, that are just coming to play and move, and 2 practices for the kids that are actually playing on the weekend, and have it, call it one team, but you can kind of.
I have a great answer for that, Flo. I have a great answer for that. So I think Mark and Matthias know, but I'm expecting my second child in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Hey.
So I can't go. I cannot go that many practices.
Okay.
I got the under 19s and then the under 14s. I'm trying to plus I don't want to. I was saying to Matthias, I cannot afford to be in quarantine. Full stop. Because the last thing I want to do is be in quarantine. Then my wife goes into labor, and then I'm like, that's so. So I cannot. I don't want to split myself that much, but yeah, it could have been ideal.
How's the situation as a coach? If you practice and the one kid is tested positive, do you have to be, or can you wear the mask and you're fine?
So I'm wearing the mask and I'm going to be like 3 meters away. So I'm going to do or take the precautions myself. And we've checked it with the BHA, and they said if I wear the mask at practices and I maintain social distancing and stuff, and then I should be fine. That if somebody, fingers crossed they're not, but if somebody goes positive, then I don't need to be in quarantine.
Okay.
So I will be wearing a mask at practice, and I will be trying to. So just in case you guys come and watch and you see me standing away from everybody, it is by design. I'm doing it on purpose. So,
and here, what did you say?
Yeah. I'm writing on a board like, cut to the baseline. So, we will see.
Everybody gets headphones and.
Yeah. Bluetooth. All right. So look, let us get started. I don't know how you guys want to do this. I definitely want to go last, so I will share my thoughts last. Other than that, I think maybe youngest to oldest is okay. So Jan, you can start us off, but we look back and we say we had Puff Summers and we had Ash Cookson and we had Michael McKay. Any 3-5 points that you feel like you took a lot from, or you whatever, then you share with us, and then we discuss it. So, and then we will move on to another coach. He will share the points, then we will discuss it, then we will move on. Max, I know you haven't been with us, but jump in and discuss like as if you were there. So just let's share. So Jan, go ahead, start us off, man.
I was at the first 2 meetings, and what I learned most was that every coach has.
If you don't want to, Jan, it's okay.
Key ideas from every coach, also you, and yeah.
Yeah, Jan, you cut off. I didn't hear anything.
I will do the same. I will do exactly the same.
Not on purpose.
Can you repeat, please?
Also, I think every coach has his own philosophy, so I also have to find my one. And for this, is good to talk to a lot of coaches and speak to a lot of coaches, and I have to find my one, and I have to practice as often as possible. So
every coach has his own philosophy.
That's the overall.
What do you understand as philosophy? What is your understanding?
How you plan practices, how you practice, and the way you teach kids something. So.
Okay. Does anybody want to jump in and share with Jan their thoughts about that and stuff?
I didn't really, to be very honest, I was loaded with work, which is a blessing these days, but I haven't seen. I've like skipped through the YouTube videos, so I haven't seen everything. So please don't test me. But like what I was most interested in, or what I'm most interested in, is philosophy of coaches. Yes, and with philosophy, for me, it's most interesting, especially when I see what my approach is to practices is. Do I want to develop each individual, or is it more important for me to develop like a team? And for me, it's always been individual, and then let them play and see what happens, because I believe if you develop individual players they will find a way to play together, you know, not like to make them all like shoot first, but like I have so less time in the gym that I have to choose like individual work over teamwork. You know what I mean? Like not making like ego players, you know, that just play for themselves, but like to just, you know, develop their own individual skills and work on their strengths and weaknesses. And this is something that I was very interested in, or which I wanted to ask some of the coaches maybe, like how do they approach that, you know, how do they balance this, you know, like, because usually nobody has time in the gym, you know, like, are you gonna run through like a lot of like plays, or are you gonna use the time to make somebody a better shooter or a better dribbler, for example? Or, you know, this is what for me is the essence of what you have to balance as a youth coach, you know.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So we've got Jan who's talked about philosophy, and I think Max, you've shared your philosophy there briefly. So before we go any further, let's can everybody share what their coaching philosophy is, or whatever you think your understanding is? So Flo, can you share your coaching philosophy?
Well, basically it's about the really the basic attitude towards what you want to do with your coaching, you know, and I think we gotta see and accept that we have different kids, you know, with different goals, you know, and different reasons why they play basketball. And I don't want to, you know, it's always tough. It's the same as in school, you know, you have some kids that really want to cooperate and want to get somewhere, and you have some kids that are just there, okay, you know, I'm here with my friends and that's fine and that's cool. And I think both should be possible, but with our resources, whatever we have available right now, you know, and I mean, I'm not even talking about this time right now, you know, what's going to be in the next couple of weeks, but basketball, you know, like basically if you have a coach that's willing to do 4 or 5 practices a week, you know, that's wow, that's great, you know, because nobody is, I think, is making it for the money or anything like this. This is just like you want to you know, give something, you know. And in this situation, I think for me it's like what I want to try to make possible is to create an environment, you know, where the kids that really wanna, you know, put in the time and wanna get better, you know, that they have a situation, you know, somehow where it is possible, you know, to become a really good player, to become a great player, you know, to get up to a level, you know, if we can make this possible, you know, more than this is, I don't think you can force a team, an entire team, you know, to be successful, you know, because you always have, yeah, different needs and different goals of the kids too, you know. It's I don't want to, you know, put my goals on top of theirs. I just want to create situations where the kids are able to succeed, where they have good like support, you know, where there's always somebody who is willing to give them some advice and help them and give them some extra time and work on whatever they need to work on, you know. And at the same time, you know, like somehow create a situation where whoever is just coming to practice 2 times a week, you know, and have some fun and go home and that's it. It's fine too, you know. That's those are kids, you know. That's that. I don't want to, you know, make the ones that don't want to, you know, work hard, and I don't want to I want to try to give everybody else who wants to achieve something, you know, make their time, you know, the 2 or 3 practices a week, really create situations where those practices are really helping them, you know. Don't have 2 practices a week where nothing, you know, they are not able to make a step forward, and then only 1 practice, you know, where you really also like create situations where they can get better, you know.
Okay.
I was talking a lot. Do you know what I want to say?
I understood you, Flo. Everybody understood, Flo?
Okay.
Okay. Mark, can you share your philosophy?
Honestly, I would copy what Flo said right now, by
Okay.
to 95%. I guess
Okay.
it's very important. I'm speaking for the kids. You know, it's really under 12 and young kids. I want them to come and to be there because they want to be there. They have to love the game like we did when we were young. I'm missing that by a lot of kids, and I don't think they get the support from home or they take it that serious that we did. I guess it's just different era. But it's really important. You have so many different kids. The one wants to compete, the one wants to goof around, the third one wants to be with his friend, and the other guy is just not at home by himself. It's way different. The reasons because they are there. And we got to find the way for everybody individually to make them the right practice, which is hard. I guess that's the point overall, especially on my age group. I cannot tell them you got to learn the basics and then you learn right and left and stuff like that. I'm happy if they be there and bring their shoes sometimes.
You mean your age group? They are too old, right?
They're way too old for me.
They don't bring their shoes.
If mommy's bringing the shoes, maybe.
To bring beer. So
They bring a case of beer and no shoes.
Matthias, what is your coaching philosophy?
So I will maybe talk about another things. In the game, I want to be, or I want from my team that they are playing really aggressive defense. They playing fast. I can agree with Marcus that individual is really important. How we build this up, yeah, this is another thing. I believe in the read and react offense and the methodology from the basketball decision trainings. What we talked about last week with Mike McKay.
Okay, perfect. So before I share with you mine and we dive in, so do we all know what the club's coaching philosophy is, or the club's philosophy is? Does anybody know what that is? No, and that's fine, and that's fine. So part of, I guess, some of the questions I will ask is, that's important because we've shared ours and I will share with you mine. But at the end of the day, we also need to know what the club's philosophy is, so then we can all align ourselves to one common goal. Before I share with mine, I think the first thing I want to explain is what a philosophy is, which is our belief and our attitude about how we do things. It's not the why. The why we do things helps us understand why I coach is going to help me with how I coach, but my philosophy, or the word philosophy, is our belief and attitude. And I think you can have a coaching philosophy, you can have a playing philosophy, you can have a substitution philosophy, you can have a rebounding philosophy. So because your philosophy is your beliefs and your attitudes. Our club philosophy, which is the same as my philosophy, and some of you guys have said it, is long-term. We believe in developing players over a long period of time, as opposed to winning today. That goes throughout the club. We want to cater to each individual player for who they are, meaning if a player joins because he just wants to be with his friends versus a player who joins because he's really, really dedicated to the game and he wants to join the Bundesliga on next level. As a club, our philosophy is to welcome both types of players and to create environments that both players can then succeed in and develop to their full potential, whatever that is. For sure, that is not easy. That is very, very challenging. So that is the overarching philosophy. So then when it comes to how I coach or how somebody coaches, for me, I'm keeping in mind that if this is my philosophy to develop everybody, then I need to some level of degree give everybody equal opportunities, not equal, but some level of opportunity so they can play, so they can develop. It doesn't make sense that I say my philosophy is to develop everybody, but then I play Mark 17 minutes and Jan 2 minutes. That for sure is not the same. So that shapes my playing philosophy. And then we can talk about the playing style, and Matthias has talked about, the philosophy of playing aggressive, playing fast, read and react. That's again next level. So the club's philosophy is to develop like players holistically over the long term, which means looking and seeing, okay, how can I take this player and develop him to the best of his ability? Maybe his ability will be just to be the best bench player. Maybe that's it. But I have to give him the opportunities to do that. I have to give him opportunities to play. I have to give him opportunities to learn. The next thing is, when we talk about developing player over a long term, my thought process, or my belief is, especially at the younger levels, you have to go individual. You have to go individual. I think, and Max said, not to teach egotistical nature, but I would say a little bit, let them have a little bit of an ego, because the ego makes them want to prove that you're wrong, or makes them want to prove that they can do everything. And the reason I say a little bit individual is, I think you can take a very good offensive player and make him a decent defensive player. I do not think you can take a very good defensive player and make him a good or okay offensive player. So for that reason, I think you need offense first. And if a kid really loves the game, he will start to buy into defense. I know Puff said the opposite, and like me and Puff get along, and I agree with him and I disagree with him, but I would be offense first, defense second. I would be individual first, team second. Yes, it's a team game, so we teach them how to be individuals within the team, how to be a Doncic within Mavericks, how to bring your style into the game. So that is my thoughts on philosophy. So anybody got any comments, or will I ask Jan to share the second thing that his point?
I totally agree with you. Like,
Philosophy, I
put
think
it in so much better words. And
environment for all the kids, because some we need later for the score table, or also for stuff
Okay.
like that.
So Jan, I think your internet is really bad at your house, right?
Could be, yes.
Okay.
Watching porn
By the way,
on the
I
second
can
screen.
change the connection.
Okay. Jan, can you hold that thought? Just 1 second, hold that thought. Max, can you finish what you were saying? Then we'll go back to Jan.
Okay. Totally agree. But like one thought pop up in my mind, like, which was like, on the one hand, giving everybody opportunity, and on the other hand, like, which stands in contrast to this philosophy, is if you have many kids, and one coach. And this brings us to how are we achieving that? And I think that's really important to us, or Flo and I, we talked about it, how can we help more individually, I think this is a really important point for us, like, to go forward also on the long term, how do we set up everything, and to be able to handle 30 kids, this is crazy. Yeah.
So with that, Max, and this is one of the reasons why I was really excited this summer, the summer gone, when we started talking about the long-term 10-year program, and you, Flo, and Mark jumped in. And I remember we were sitting at one of those meetings, and we were talking about coaches, and I said to you guys, having this is better than what we had before, because if you look at it, we've got Matthias and Jan who do a great job, but like, that was who we had. And now we've got 3 more guys, yourself, Mark, and Flo, who are on board. And I maintain, not do anything until we get coaches on board. But the fact is, we now have 3 coaches on board, yourselves, who we did not have last year. And I think, everybody can do different levels. So Flo, you can do X, Mark is doing Y, Max is doing Z. It is so much better than what we had last year. And for sure, our season kind of got paused really early, so we don't know how it would have shaped up. but I do think that we would have figured out a way to get Flo contributing, and Flo, you were jumping in some of my practices kind of right before we stopped, which was great. And Max, I'm sure with work and balancing it, you would have jumped in, and I think then it sends the signs to like Jan, and then there's Moritz Mascheko, who are the next guys going to be as coaches. They see that, and maybe they would also start to buy in. And for sure, I don't think coaches is the most important thing. We need to develop our coaches. We need to welcome our coaches. We need to have more from our coaches. But having 6 people at a call like this, it's better than what we've had ever. So you know what I mean? So yeah, I understand that, and I think it's we're going to get there. I believe we'll get there. All right. So Jan, I come back to you. Can you share your second point from that?
Meetings or
You can share the next two. Yeah, share both. So you've shared one, which is coaching philosophy. Share the next two. We will discuss it, and we will go to the next guy.
only prepared one, to be honest. So
You only prepared one?
yeah, maybe another one can.
No. If you've prepared one, you've prepared one. But my text said 3 to 5.
Yeah, no, but
it's okay. It's okay. So we'll jump. Mark, let's go to you, man. Because we're going youngest to oldest, right? So Mark, let's go
your
with you
second
next.
youngest in that group.
Yeah. I just jumped.
How old are you, Mark?
35.
I'm 36 also.
I guess no beat.
That was a complete guess by my part, so I had no idea your
Am
age.
Am I really the oldest here? No.
How old are you, Max?
Are you kidding me? I show you.
He's going to get his birth certificate. 40? Oh shit, man! Hey, you don't look 40, man.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
You look like 45.
10 years ago, not so much.
Perfect. Mark, share with us some stuff, man.
Yeah, I missed one call, the second one. I watched it, but it's not the same like watching it and being in there. The interesting part for me was how they do it without telling them what we're doing. For sure, and the third call with Coach McKay, I told him the issue we have with the 52 kids and just one gym and stuff like that. But it was really interesting how they are separating the kids in there. Because we know it right now, we've made our 3 groups, which we thought it was a good idea. I'm not sure that it was a good idea right now. For sure, it was the best individually for the players, because there were those group of players working on that skill level, which is good for them. But honestly, they don't. I saw it on some kids who tried to be leaders, whatever you want to call this. But on the age group with under 12 kids, they didn't show it, because they were like, what is that guy doing? What's that guy doing? Maybe it's easier for them to get into a new role, like a leader, like they're supposed to be, if they have weaker teammates for a drill or for a game or for a practice game or whatever. I guess Puff said that one time, that it's also important what they're going to do. I don't have to teach them how to do a bounce pass to a kid who cannot even catch it, because it makes no sense. Or doing the drill without defense, because they cannot do it. So it's very important and very interesting for me how they handle those issues, especially those issues. So maybe from my thought right now is to change our program a little bit. Even we did not even have a chance to try it. You know what I mean? I think we did a good job on this, but maybe open up a little bit and try something else. Maybe even less drills and more games. Do it more like game speed and stuff like that.
So, Mark, I just want to summarize the 3 points before I tell the other coaches to jump in. The first one, you said, is how the other coaches would do things differently from we do it. The second one was the technical skills. You said like not teaching somebody bounce pass when they can't catch. If I'm not mistaken, was less drills, more games. Would I be, if I've just kind of summarized, is that?
Yeah,
What you-
maybe. Exactly. I'm not 100% sure yet because we've got to try it first.
Mhm.
But I would suggest, yeah, that's a good
Okay.
way to move on.
Okay, guys, what do you think about kind of the 3 points that he's made? What do we think? Just let's, Matthias, why don't you tell us kind of your thoughts first?
This is really good with more games and not too much technical drills, because you can build your technical drills also in a game, and they can use this technical drills also in a game. So one thing, if you can play with your guys smash ball. So can I speak German?
For sure, for sure.
The bill's
Also,
supposed to be German anyway.
wenn du zum Beispiel ein Abwurfspiel spielst mit deinen Kids und du möchtest sie einführen, wie sie mit dem schwächeren Hand dribbeln können oder dass sie das üben. Und das ist wirklich eine große Herausforderung in dem kleinen Alter. Sie mögen das gar nicht. Und aber wenn du eine andere Ball in der Hand gibst und sie müssen damit die anderen abwerfen, dann sie werden versuchen, zuerst mit dem schwächeren Hand die anderen abzuwerfen. Dann werden sie sehen, okay, das geht einfach gar nicht. Und drittes Mal selber werden sie den Basketball in den schwächeren Hand nehmen und mit dem schwächeren Hand dribbeln und währenddessen die anderen mit dem besseren Hand abschießen. Also solche Dinge kann man sehr gut mit Spielen verknüpfen, denke ich. Ja.
Ja, also man muss schon die Technik, you prefer it on German, Nabil? Du musst schon
Easy.
mit der Technik, aber nur kurz anteasern und dann sofort in Competition Mode vielleicht mehr gehen. Und man einfach sagt, okay, wir haben es geübt und wir brauchen nicht 10.000 Mal rechten Korbleger üben, 1 gegen 0, aber dann einmal 1 gegen 1 oder 2 gegen 2 oder 4 gegen 4, ganz egal wie, aber sofort in Game Mode Competition mit Defense und zack.
In dem Zusammenhang muss ich aber sagen, wie gesagt, was da wichtig ist, damit das auch irgendwie funktioniert, ist, dass die Übungen gut ausgewählt sind. Ja? Weil wenn du dann spielst, sozusagen in gewisser Weise, ja, und dann spielt eben einer, der kaum trippeln kann, gegen einen, der niederpresst, sozusagen, ja, dann wird der nie in diesem Drill die Chance haben, dass er überhaupt einen Wurf aufkriegt. Ja? Und das heißt, wie gesagt, man muss da schon sehr genau, und das war eigentlich auch eine Sache, die mich da schon sehr beeindruckt hat, auch bei den Coaches, mit denen wir geredet haben, dass die einfach, ja, die überlegen halt da jetzt nicht sozusagen den Drill und den mache ich halt oder so, sondern die überlegen sich da viel mehr dahinter sozusagen. Ja? Nicht nur, ich brauche jetzt einen Drill, um Dribbling zu üben oder sowas, sondern aha, ja, ich habe da verschiedene Level und wie kann ich das jetzt beeinflussen oder wie kann ich da jetzt den Drill verändern, ja, aktiv in der Situation, dass zum Beispiel einer, der halt jetzt da deutlich schlechter ist als die anderen, ja, trotzdem vielleicht was daraus bekommt. Außer, dass er erkennt, dass er halt viel schlechter ist als die anderen. Ja. Und ja, wie gesagt, also ich denke, dass dass ihr beide da vollkommen recht habt, dass Spiele sozusagen, wenn man das in ein Spiel integrieren kann, ja, dann ist das super. Aber wie gesagt, es muss halt auch dann so aufgebaut sein, dass man halt sozusagen auch für alle irgendwie was rausbekommt, ja. Und nicht, ja, und das ist teilweise sehr schwierig. Also mir fällt es teilweise schwer, sozusagen da, naja,
Ich glaube,
schon
dass das
vorher
gar kein
abzuschätzen,
Problem
ob das
ist. Ich glaube, dass es gar kein Problem ist, wenn einmal ein Kind sieht, okay, die anderen sind besser als ich, weil in Wirklichkeit spornt es auch viele Kinder an, dass sie dorthin kommen. Also der kann dann nicht mit links trippeln, die anderen schon. Und dann machst du diesen Wettbewerb und er ist einfach mit der linken Hand langsamer als wie die anderen und dann sollte ihn das eigentlich anspornen. Das ist ja Teil, der ganze Sport basiert ja darauf. im Endeffekt. Ich muss schon sagen, aus meiner Sicht, ich bereite mich auf die Trainings vor und ich überlege mir schon, heute möchte ich Dribbling machen und dann überlege ich mir Übungen dazu. Im Training ist es immer, 90% ist immer anders und du musst dann variieren, aber das Konstrukt habe ich schon immer vorbereitet fürs Training. Und dann jede Übung eigentlich oder jede, sage ich mal, 2, 3 Übungen und die führen aber auf ein Spiel dann hin im Endeffekt oder auf einen Wettbewerb oder sonstiges. Und dann kommt der nächste Part im Endeffekt. So plane ich die Trainings, weil für die Kinder ist es erstens eine Belohnung und zweitens merken sie auch, aha, das, was wir jetzt geübt haben, das muss ich jetzt anwenden und es macht Sinn. Auch wenn sie bei der Übung vorher nicht gescheit mitgemacht haben, dann überlegen sie, okay, hätte ich gescheit mitgemacht, wäre ich jetzt schneller gewesen, weil gewinnen wollen sie dann nämlich schon.
Ja, das kannst du viel mit Staffeln machen. Also ich finde das eigentlich ganz geil, wenn du nachher siehst in der Staffel, wenn sie ehrgeizig werden und der andere sagt, durchgescheit, haben wir gerade geübt. Dann sagt der andere, ja, ich war aber nur goofing around. Also
Ja,
das ist schon cool.
kein Wettkampfgedanken. Man sagt, die Kids wollen unbedingt dann.
Na, wie gesagt,
So,
also Entschuldigung.
no, Flo, go ahead, Flo.
Na, ich wollte nur sagen, also wie gesagt, dass die Übung, ja, wenn das sozusagen auf einem Level ist noch, ja, wo du sagst, okay, das ist dein nächster Schritt sozusagen, ja, der nächste Schritt, du hast noch Probleme sozusagen, ja, und wenn du gegen einen guten Spieler spielst, schaffst du das noch nicht, aber du kannst das sozusagen als nächsten Schritt dann machen, dann finde ich das ja, aber teilweise ist einfach die Differenz so groß, dass ich sage, okay, wenn wir das Ganze, also sozusagen einen Großteil vom Training so machen, ja, dann hat der Spieler in dem Training jetzt nicht viele Möglichkeiten, da irgendwo besser zu werden, außer dass er eben weiß, dass er halt noch ziemlich viel schlechter ist als der andere. Ja,
ja, aber da muss halt dann auf unserer Sicht einfach die Aufgabe übernehmen und dann sagen, schon, ja, das so anpassen, dass der trotzdem was davon hat. Und wir brauchen nicht einen
genau,
Superstar, der im
das war
Training
genau
mal
mein Punkt.
niederpresst. Ja.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in there. Firstly, Flo and Max, your German is way too quick, man. Even if I'm trying to stay with you guys are Ferraris out there. Jan and Mark, thank you. Matthias, thank you. You guys are like Mitsubishis or, Priuses. You're speaking slower, but so if I say anything and I'm repeating what you guys said, just bear with me. Mark, I'll share with you my thoughts a little bit. But I think firstly, I'm glad Jan brought up the philosophy question first, because everything we talk about is going to be there. Mark shared with us 3 points, how we do things, less technique, more games. And that just comes down to our philosophy again. What do we as a club believe? What do you as a coach believe? So when we shared our philosophy early on, we said we want to accommodate all our players within our environment. We want all our players to develop over the long term, not necessarily short term. So I think that the next thing to look at is a very simple formula, which I originally got from Mike McKay. Who plus why is equal to how plus what. Meaning, who are we coaching and who are we and why are we coaching versus why are they coming to play? That will tell us how we do things and what we do, right? So I think this formula for me, it's helped me a little bit. So if we look at it, then we say the players we're coaching, right? Yeah, they're kids who might not really be interested. They just want to run around. And we have to pay that into attention that Mike McKay at Canada does not maybe have the same kids. Maybe, I don't know. Spanish guys might not have that. And maybe Puff doesn't. So we have to look at our kids first. I think more games, less drills makes so much sense for me because, yeah, it's all about, like, we want them to have fun. Mark, you said it. We want them to love the game. If they love the game, they will work on the skills themselves. It's how we all learned our skills. You guys, I'm assuming, but I hope I'm right, you guys probably went home and worked on some stuff that you learned in practice. And it's because you love the game. So if we can get our kids to love the game, they will work on some more of that stuff. So yeah, more games, less drills. I think it's a good idea. Less technical details for sure, because it depends on who you're coaching. Perhaps we have one 12 who might be, have the correct mindset that he can take more technical details, but maybe another kid might not. Interesting research for you guys. Up until the age of 16, the chronological age, which means the actual age we are, might not match the brain age versus the biological. So relative age, biological, which means I might be 10, my brain might be 12, my body might be 8. So my body might look like I'm not able for something, but my mind is mature enough to be able to focus and do. And that happens with kids all the way to 16. So at under 12, you might have a guy like Fahim, whose body is already a 15-year-old man, but his brain is probably 10 years old. You know, and this is what I mean by who we're coaching and why are they there. So I think straight away, you know, when we talk about less technical, more games, then it becomes that coaching. How do I teach now? And this is some of the stuff that Coach Michael McKay said, using constraints, using the phasing of drills, phase A, phase B, C, and D. Max, we can explain that in a second. Using a games-based approach, so one-on-one, but changing the constraints a little bit, using a game to teach something else. And we can talk about that because, like, for sure, I have a lot of games, but I also love kids to play because that's what they find fun. Now, we don't want to just roll the ball out and we step back and do nothing because there has to be coaching. And then this comes down to the thing again, Coach McKay said, TLC. Are we teaching? Are we letting them learn? Are we competing? And for sure, this becomes a balancing act because if you teach the entire practice, kids are bored. If you compete the entire practice, well, you're not teaching. So maybe this becomes putting one teaching drill and 2 compete drills before learning drill. And this becomes, that's why practice planning is so important, because how we layer the practice allows us to have a flow where the kids are moving from one station to another station, but they're not bored because they know if I'm going to Jan station, I'm going to play. And I don't know what game is going to be there, but I'm going to play. If I go to flow station, I'm going to play. I have no idea. Now it could be the same game, but different points, because now you get points for, and Jan, you will remember this, we did one of this early on with the kids. We did every time, we did 3v3, but every time a kid came to a jump stop, he got 2 points. So now kids are attacking the basket in 3v3. It's just 3v3. The girls are not doing jump stops because they haven't been able to do it, but we've got 2 kids, I think one of them was Leo, who was doing jump stops, and he's like looking for that because he gets 2 points. So he's not trying to score because he's getting points from jump stop. And then we added, okay, if you do a jump stop and a pivot, you get, so now Leo is coming in, jump stop, extra pass, the girls can shoot because he's still getting his points. And then now he's pivoting 4 times before making that pass because every pivot is, so we're teaching the pivot and the jump stop in a 3v3 game. And I think definitely we can look at the skills or technical, but put it in a game. Coach McKay talked about hiding the vegetables in the spaghetti sauce. And I think for sure with kids, we can do that. The one thing I want to say is you said we got to change. And I think that's a topic in itself because I don't disagree and I don't agree, but I would really like to know what your opinion is, because you also said that we didn't do it enough to know if it's working or not. Of course, I heard Puff's, logic and philosophy, and I heard Mike McHale's logic and philosophy. I would say that for us as coaches, we have to remain open to learning. We have to be able to take in all this information, process it, but it doesn't mean we always change our philosophy. Now, this might be a question that we can change. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe not. Mark, I would love to dig in on that, but maybe we'll come back to that at the end if we have time. We will make time. We will come back to that at the end. But that's my little thought process on the things Mark said. And any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think all of the coaches we talked to, they mentioned one of the most important things, to make a practice successful is to give as many game-like situations as possible, so you don't practice what you're not going to use and be able to use, in the game, so I think this is definitely one thing that however we plan to do stuff, whatever we should take into account, that we try to create game-like situations. And talking about Coach McKay's
Spaghetti sauce.
Ice. I liked ice.
Yeah.
So it's,
Max, I don't know, Max, do you know what ice is? So maybe Flo, you can explain to him.
intensity, concentration, and energy. Yeah, and this is really three things. If you don't have that, you can have make as many drills or have the nicest games or whatever. If you don't have that, to me, it's to some extent a waste of time.
So I want to add on that, and I think now when we talk about what can we as a club start doing, because it's also important that regardless of which coach the players are playing for, if we can do something similar or the same, it's going to be great. So I think ice is an easy one to do, whereas we can just, things are not working, we blow the whistle, guys, where are we? One thing I do with my guys actually is UAE. So guys, are we unacceptable right now? Are we doing acceptable, or is it exceptional? And whatever we agree on. So it's like, if we're doing a drill and at the end or in between, guys, where are we right now? And somebody will say U, somebody will say A, somebody will say E. So we're like, okay, we got 5 guys who are saying we're unacceptable. So this is kind of how I keep my guys. We want to be acceptable or exceptional, but also ice. Then it's on a scale of 1 to 5, guys, where's our intensity? And the guys will, and usually the guys know. On a scale of 1 to 5, where's our concentration? On a scale of 1 to 5, guys, where's our energy right now? And obviously you want 4 and above, I would think. I'd say 3 is average, so you want 4 and above. But I think this is an easy one. We as a club, as all coaches, can start putting this in as soon as we get back. So would we say that that's something we can agree to do, or is that something we can think about some more?
Yeah, like in that context, I liked that he, the way he kind of turned the coin around. You don't give feedback, you ask to think about, you ask the kids to think about, what they feel. Are you are you an energy taker, or are you an energy giver for the team? Are you giving something for the team, or are you taking something from the team? And I think this is also like a little bit of this team aspect, like it's not only you and you are in practice and you feel like playing or you don't feel good, and it's also about the team. What consequences do your actions have? What impact do they have on the team? Are you the one who's creating a bad situation for the entire team or something like this? And I think, yeah, in general, this feedback culture, like about it's not what I'm used to, what I was used to as a player, but it's something I can see. This is definitely something I wanna, like try to do in my practices.
I think that's
Perfect.
really important, like to have interactive practices, and like also like asking players, like why are we doing this for? That they imagine, okay, why are we dribbling with the left hand and so on, so they understand, and like it comes from within them, so it makes them immediately bound to the exercise. But also, like as you talked about ice, I think it really enforces concentration, because everybody could be asked. So I think this is like feedback, and like keeping the players and talking to the players and asking them things, constantly. Like everybody has to be on the same page, And I think this is something that, on the one hand, makes the players really like bond with the exercise, but also making them aware and concentrated. So I think that's a really good way of practicing.
Perfect. Let's move on. So we go with Matthias. Share with us 3 things that you learned from the previous coaches, and then we will discuss it as well.
So I was or at your last coaching clinics, what we've done last year or last season, that was an awesome with Alex Arema. And that was he shares with us his small-sided games, and I started to research in this area, and okay, I see, yeah, this is awesome, and the guys are playing and they have fun and everything, And then with Coach McKay and with the basketball decisions, trainings, what they or Alex also wrote in a blog, you cannot play only small-sided games. You need these phases, and you need sometimes break it down because they maybe they cannot do something technical, and then they don't have a success. So this is one, that you cannot play only small-sided games. Then the other is individual is important, but you need to spend a lot of time alone with that. Maybe out of the training time, and maybe with one trainer, so one player with one trainer, or one trainer with 2 or 3 players. It takes a lot of time. So then developing the decisions. So you need to build habits, and you need to build decisions how they need to do the reactions for an action. And this is what also Coach McKay said, that it isn't enough only what we do. So maybe they know, okay, I need, if I do a dribble head, the next guy need to do a backdoor cut. But if they doesn't realize there is an opportunity, it's the waste of time. So, and one other, yeah, we need a culture. That was the last.
Okay. Quick summary of that. So before we dive in, so small-sided games, basically, we should not always play small-sided games. Then individualism is important, but technical skills. So sometimes taking the kids separate and working with them, more technical is also important. Then you talked about developing decisions. So not only what we do, but why we do it. And then you said culture. So that was 4 things.
Yeah.
Is that right, Mathis? Okay.
Yeah.
Flo, why don't you start us off this? Why don't you tell us your thoughts on that?
On small-sided games, well, like, to be quite honest, I'm pretty much at the like, I think first the basics, the basis for everything, is to have the philosophy start, like we said, start with culture. If you're talking about it, this is like one of the things that I would start with and think about, and maybe discuss what we want and how we can get it into practice. Everything else that's more detailed or something, I think this is right now I'm not even thinking too much about that, to be quite honest. Like how we react to certain situations, or what is our philosophy on offense, what is our philosophy on defense. That's not like the main point is for me right now, how can you make the create a situation where all the things we want, like we were talking about up to now, how we can create a situation in general all together. I don't see teams separated, like by this coach has this team and this coach has this team, and that's it. But how can we create situations, how can we maybe be creative and create situations where we can give most of this, to all our players, how we can get that to work, and like what we have. And then for me, then the next step is, okay, now we have an idea how we, like here we can do the individual practicing, whatever the individuals, like every coach, every of the coaches said, individual practice is important, and you should have some time, for the individual player, and maybe time is one thing that's really important, like that I kept in mind. Don't be in a rush, don't be in a hurry, you know, like even if you feel like, oh, today we gotta do this and this and this, you know, take your time, you know, at the beginning, take your time for the guys to arrive, you know, say hi to everybody, you know, spend some, like, have everybody work on their things, you know, and don't make them feel like, oh, come on, we only got 2 hours and now we want to do this, and then, oh, come on, doesn't work the way we want it to be, you know. And sometimes, you know, the practice is over and like it happens to me sometimes, you know, that I can't just like say, okay, now it's enough, and okay, the last 10 minutes, you know, or the last 15 minutes, we just have a good finish for everybody, you know, and don't have just 1 minute left and then okay, bye, okay, see you next time, you know. Yeah, maybe I didn't answer too much, you know, like what you asked me to, but to be quite honest, right now I feel like this is where all my thoughts are going around. To everything else I can't say too much because I haven't this is all not the first priority to me right now.
Perfect. So appreciate you. Mark, why don't you share your thoughts again on kind of what Matthias said, and then we'll pass it to Jan.
What I think. I mean, it's. I heard it. I thought about it right now because Flo had to deal first. But I guess Matthias is very detailed on a lot of stuff. It's he's thinking about his offense, his defense, his practice philosophy, a lot of stuff. What I see in the kids is I don't know if they can handle it that detailed right now. I don't know your players even, so that's just what I think right now. So I say I like the idea very much for all the kids. It's also my standpoint is for the minis. Sure, they're way different. But if you work out with on the 14, on the 16 or older, they need that structure and that discipline. I'm 100% with him. But I don't know his practices. So it's hard for me to answer or tell them what I would do in that situation because I'm not there. You know what I mean?
I got you. I guess what we're trying to figure out is basically, so we've kind of gone through some learning process and we've heard different guys speak, and so I guess we're reflecting on what we used to do and what we do versus what we've learned and what can we do. So it's, yeah, for sure, it's very difficult to tell anybody what you should do, but I guess it's a reflection process. So that's fine. Jan, do you want to add some thoughts?
Maybe with the details, it's important to know how much you can give a kid, and when his capacity limit is full. So, for example, one kid is doing a layup, and the other one is also dribbling with the left hand, and for the other one it's too much. So you should know, okay, this kid can do this, and for the other one you need more details or more stuff. So, for example, we have Leo Sturm. You can say to him, stop with 2 feet and make a shooting fake. What's it called?
Yeah, shot fake is fine.
Shot fake, exactly. And maybe for another one, it's just go to the basket, shoot with the right hand. So you should know what every kid needs and what you can give him.
Okay. Max, do you want to add some thoughts there?
For me, I wanna, like, if I hear the word culture, it's more like, as Flo said also, I think it's less about game related. Of course, there is culture, strategy, and like how you do things, discipline, this and that. But for me, culture, and I think I heard it from you, or either Flo told me that this was your like vision as well, like, is to involve everything around more, you know, more people around, you know, to create this kind of environment, culture all around the game, you know, that it's, you know, more like a community and everybody working together, and like, I think this is really big, you know, and I can feel it in a small village like Fuschl, like we are, you know, like in a really small time, we created some kind of culture where everybody's helping, you know, all the parents are there, you know, like and they're bringing their grandparents to the games, you know, like, and all of a sudden people know what is basketball, you know, which like 3 years ago nobody knew, you know. So I think this is something like for me that's really great, and this is really something that kids will be proud of being there, because they will feel appreciation not only when they go into the gym but at home as well, you know, like, and I think when they go to school, you know. So I think this is something, you know, to enrich and like to, you know, build all this environment and make it bigger and richer, like in all directions, you know, away from the court as well, you know. I think this for me is what, when I hear the word culture, is what like all of this is connected, you know.
So agreed. Let me jump in on what Matthias said. So I'm going to repeat what he said, then I'll kind of thoughts as well. So Matthias covered small-sided games, a learning lesson there. Individual is important, but technical, or rather some more detailed skills there. Developing decisions and culture. And I think most of you guys have covered it. And for me, I've discussed it with Flo, I've discussed it with Mark, Jan, and Matthias. Max, we haven't actually had that discussion yet, but we will definitely. I am huge on culture. I think I came across this kind of idea before. I heard it from a different coach, where every coach kind of has a thing, whatever the thing is. Every coach has a thing, and some coaches are very technical. And I'm going to use a name, Marcus Pinisic. I don't know if you guys know him or not. He was a very technical coach, which is great. Anton, our current Bundesliga coach, he's a very tactical coach, which is great. Like, and if somebody was to define me, I think they would define me as a very cultural coach. I care a lot about the environment, because I believe the environment can facilitate everything we want out of it. So I agree with you. And early on, I was talking to Matthias. How I would define culture is how people act when we're not around, when there's no leaders. So how is it? So you talked about Fuschel and community. So this sense of community is like, that's the culture, right? And at VKL also, they have a sense of community. Within the youth program at Swans, we don't really have that sense of community. So I'm a big believer on us changing our culture, not only Swans, but LZ, Salzkammergut, and developing it how we decide to do it, which is going based on the values that we have in our program. So yeah, creating that environment. And I think this is a great first step, because now we're looking at it and saying, we're having a culture of coaches talking to each other, which, again, my first couple of years here, it wasn't. So I think this is great. We're building this in. And we're also talking about different things like ICE, which hopefully we can get all the teams and all the coaches doing it. So now we're setting the minimum standard that it doesn't matter who's coaching, this is minimum. And that's kind of the basis of culture. I think going back to Matthias and kind of what he said, Matthias, I agree, the small-sided games, I definitely think you cannot do one thing fully. I think there's definitely that. So you said small-sided games, but also being able to be open to maybe stopping. And I would go with kind of what Coach McKay said, using a small-sided game to see if the players have the decisions, which is the third thing you said. And if not, then breaking it down and going to phase B or phase A drill. So agreed. I definitely think it's not only small-sided games. The second thing is individual is important, but technical. And I think kind of we look at that and who plus why. So when Matthias is talking, I think he's talking in the background with Julian Westby and Uros and Milos. And, you know, so for sure, I think these players, you know, you're thinking more technical. I would be thinking, right, okay, how can I push him? How can I, versus if we were talking about Leo Sturm and Leopoldo Barducci, like they're different. So I think I agree with you that, yeah, you know, there's a bit of individualism in the game and in practice, but perhaps there's more technical skills. And Flo said it. How can we then put this into practice? Because we're not going to have, you know, we've got 90 minutes. Can we get everything we want in those 90 minutes? And I think at the end of the day, we should be able to, because if we cut down on the time we have fluff, like maybe we have a drill that doesn't do anything, that we're just using it. Well, get rid of it, right? Let's use a drill or a sequence that is important to us. And I'll share my thoughts at the end, kind of what my learning lesson is. But I agree, individual is important, but then can we accommodate technical skills for the players who need it? within our practice. It becomes tough if we don't have the coaches. Flo, you've seen me struggle with 20 players. Well, then when you're around, it's like, okay, great, I can divide it and you can take half and I can take half. I don't know Matthias's practice, who he has, so that's definitely, tough. And then I think decisions, which was Matthias's third thing, he said decisions and habits. I think decision making is so important. And I get it, old school or traditional is we teach the technical, teach the technical, teach the technical, teach the technical. And it's like we want the technical to be perfect before we play a game. But I think from a pedagogy point of view, which is learning point of view, kids don't learn in a linear fashion, they learn in a non-linear fashion. So when a player first catches the ball, he has to make a decision. Do I dribble, pass, or shoot? Like that's like before he does any of that thing. So we're not going to give him everything and go ahead, just do it. But at the same time, I think we need to start introducing that concept of decision making, but being attentive to where he is and what he needs and what she needs. And perhaps this is going back to the phase B drills, which is, all right, you can go right or left. So we're taking that to one decision and then build it up to another decision. But yeah, I do think decision making is important with players. That comes from playing games. That's kind of how, again, Jason Williams learned how to play, breaking down technical with Kyrie Irving or Jason Williams or Steph Curry. It was just being creative and the coach knowing when to step back and let him do. If James Harden did not play for, Mike D'Antoni, or Steve Nash did not play for Mike D'Antoni, then they are not the players they are. They became that because D'Antoni stepped back and okay. So I think as coaches, we also need to know when to step back and when to go in. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. But I agree, culture for me. I'd say that all day long. And Flo, we talked about it a lot. My biggest, but I don't know when that is. Next year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years. If we've changed the culture for an amazing high level culture, I'm delighted. We've done a great job. So that's kind of my thoughts there. Anybody want to echo or say something, or we just go to, well, Flo, you're next, right? You haven't shared your thoughts.
Well, I guess up.
You've kind of shared it, really, right?
I know I have said everything.
You said, yeah.
I wanted to say, yeah. I just, yeah. There's nothing really that I think I want to add. Yeah. I feel like we gotta use the time, and we compared to other countries. I agree with Maciej. We talked about it. We don't have 7 practices a week, at a certain age group. We don't have that, and I know if we had that, we can work differently. But that's just the situation we are in,
Yes.
And we got to try to make the best out of it, to the best of our knowledge, to really, have try to kind of was heißt denn das kompensieren, compensate.
Yeah.
Compensate the situation, in some other way, try to find a way, not to give, players the opportunities to still be learning enough, and that maybe of course, with a situation of 3 practices a week, maximum 4 practices a week, you gotta work in your own, prepare them to go home, work on their own. You can't do it for them. You can't just make a player. It's impossible in this situation. If I have this player every day, twice a day, I can make a player to some extent. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I feel like I can handle it. But right now, in our situation, you can't do that. I feel it's impossible to do that. Because if you tell a player, okay, you gotta work on this and this and this, you don't know, what he's doing when he's going home. So I can just, create a situation, give them opportunity. Hey, look, this I can offer, you know, if you want to get better, try to find some time to work on this, you know, and but I think to some extent it's not all the same for everybody, you know. So I feel like those kids who really want to work hard, who are willing to work hard, save some of our resources from those kids that are fine practicing twice a week, you know, and having some fun and doing a little drills and whatever, you know, we can do together, and then save some time for those, or save some resources for those who want to go and work on a different level, you know. That this is what I like. It doesn't matter if the skill level, you know, doesn't matter to me. Can be the worst player on the team. If he is willing to improve, to put the time in, hey, I'm there, but I'm not there, you know, at the gym, and then just, you know, like to fool around, you know, like for this practice, you know, where somebody wants to improve, you know, there's no okay, I just want to fool around a little bit, you know, like waste some time for this. This is not what I'm willing to give, you know. If like I would make it, I wouldn't exclude anybody, yeah, but I would give some restrictions, you know, or like some rules, you know. If you want this kind of treatment, you gotta bring something. You gotta bring the right attitude. You gotta bring I don't know, or like show you're serious, you know, and and then we can work, you know, and then you gotta show the will, you know, to maybe be able to come to every practice, you know, not only this practice, but come to every practice, and then maybe move your studying time, you know, to a different time than 7 o'clock on Monday or something like this, you know. And for those kids, no matter what the skill level is, I'm all in. I'm ready to do this, but I'm not willing to be a babysitter, you know, for a third time a week, you know. This is.
Yeah. So I want to jump in there before we ask the coaches. So Flo's kind of points from what I've taken, what he just said, 3 points. Number one is we are not the same as other clubs, so we've got to find a way. I think that's 3 words. Find a way is perfect, because for sure we can always look and say, well, they have this and they have that, which is why they're better and we're not. But we got to find a way. And at the end of the day, that's as simple as it is. You know, before any country can get funding for a particular sport, they've got to prove they belong. That's just the way it is, right? Nobody gets funding from the government unless you show the government that you have value. So for us to show the kids that there's value in us, we got to find a way, and how we do it is amazing. So the second point is we're not the same. Everybody's different. And I guess I like what he said. Number one is kind of accommodate the guys who want to get better. Because yeah, we've talked about our philosophy. We want to welcome and, you know, facilitate everybody. But if guys are showing a will and they want to get better, then we got to match that will by finding ways. And then next thing you said is creating standards. So if we set a minimum standard and the players meet it regardless of their skill level, we can definitely accommodate them. And I think the creating standards is huge when it comes to building that culture, because we say, this is the minimum where we're going to meet you. So if you want to be a part of this, then you got to be up here. So that's kind of my take, my 3 things on what Flo just said. If anybody else wants to jump in and voice their thoughts on that, then go ahead.
This with the level that we need a level and we need to meet there. That was what I'm trying last year with the ages, not stages, and yeah, but it's really difficult. How much is too much? How much is not enough? So yeah.
I think that's very difficult, Matthias, because, you know, the question of how much is too much and how much is not enough, it's very much trial and error. So you will find one team and one group of players, you know, it's not enough. and you do the same thing for another team and another group of players, it's too much. And there is no magic answer. Unfortunately, I think that's the biggest problem. But for me, it's the greatest challenge, right? If there was this answer, then every club and every coach would be amazing, right? Because everybody knows it's a scientific formula, but it's not. It's we are taking science and art. We have to get a personal feel for when a player needs push, because sometimes you will need to kick a player up the butt because he's not working hard enough. But then, you know, his teammate, you need to put your hand around him and say, look, it's okay, buddy. You know, I will be completely honest with you guys and tell you, I was just thinking early on today, and I don't know why I'm doing it, but I was thinking about it. So I wrote a letter to each of my former players who quit basketball because of me, because I gave them a kick up the butt instead of a hand around the shoulder. And up until now, I've got 23 letters written. You know, and I think back and I think about when I started, it's trial and error. I made a bunch of mistakes and there's no answer. And I needed to go through that to be able to get to where I'm at now, to realize that was a mistake. At the time, I didn't know. I genuinely didn't know, and I feel bad for them, which is why I'm writing the letter. Because some players quit and some players, you know, gave up basketball, some players, but that's the growth process, and you have to make mistakes to learn. So there is no answer. It depends, and you know, so I don't think that's a bad thing, and that's the challenge for us as coaches. But yeah, standards is a good thing, right? Because you know, like when we have a certain standard, it's a benchmark. It means we know as a club, as a basketball, this is where we are, so we can move up. At the moment, honestly speaking, what is our standard as Salzkammergut or Swans or Vikings or Fuschel? What is our standard of basketball or coaching?
Do we have one?
Right? So when we can, right? So when we can get that, this is what I mean. When we can get that, then we can say, Nabil applies for a job and we're like, okay, Nabil, sorry, you're not going to get a job here because you don't meet the standard. No, not because you don't have the knowledge, but you don't have the standard. We want this, right? And I think that becomes powerful. That becomes part of our culture. You have, this is, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but Spanish basketball generally don't take any foreign coaches because they don't meet the standard of Spanish basketball. They want Spanish coaches because every coach who grows up in Spain knows this is the standard of Spanish basketball. So like, what's his name? The national team coach, Sergio Scariolo, was the first foreign coach because he's Italian and he somehow managed to sneak in the Spanish system. But like, you could be an NBA coach. You're not going to coach at Spain. Like, you're not. It's sorry. We have this standard. And I think, sure, we're not going to be at the Spanish side, but we can have a standard here and say, you know, in order to coach at Salzkammergut, we need this, that you're going to buy into our philosophy. You're going to buy into how we do things. And then, like, for sure, we build from there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, so sorry, did anybody else want to jump in there before I share the some of the lessons that I learned from the last couple of weeks? No? Okay. So a couple of things that I really took away from that. Number one is start on a positive, finish on a positive. And it goes back to our philosophy. We want kids to have fun. We want them to come back. We want them to love the game of basketball. And I think even the kids who don't really care about playing, they just want to be with their friends. If they love coming to practice, they will keep coming back, right? Because you are it's tough when you have, let's say, X amount of kids who just want to play and goof around, and then these kids who want to, you know, compete. I think at under 14, definitely we can start to split them up, which is a different topic, but start on a positive, finish on a positive. And like we talked about with Coach McKay, if the first thing you do in practice is always going to be the fun, like the best part of practice, then kids all of a sudden are not going to be late to practice because they don't want to miss that. That's the best part of practice. And that's something that I don't generally do, but like listening to Coach McKay, I think that's something maybe that I should also start doing, like putting whatever is the most fun activity first, and then breaking it down. Finish on a positive, because kids will usually remember the last thing they do. With the under-19s, I do it inconsistently. Sometimes we do half-court shots. That's fun, but maybe I can do it all the time. Not half-court shots, but something fun to finish the practice. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Rob shooting. Like I think I was talking to you guys, I don't do shooting drills. I said this, I don't teach shooting, but Coach McKay just made it so simple. In order to be a good shooter, you need to be on range, you need to be on balance, you need to be open and on balance, range, open, balance. And then I look back at all my shooting drills, and most of them don't have the first two. Like the players are not making the decision, right? And even the balance part, Coach McKay said, most of the shooting drills I do, I tell the players what their alignment is and the rhythm. So that's the balance part. So then as a coach, if I want my players to get skills to transfer to the game, then I got to start putting shooting drills where they can also make decisions on the range. Because in the game, they have to say, all right, I caught the ball at the halfway line. This is not my range. I'm not J.R. Smith. I'm not going to take this, right? I'm going to pass and cut. And we also want them to know when they're open, because Flo, but Nabil is not open if the hand is here, right? So then we need the players making those decisions so we can coach them. So that's something I took Rob shooting. I'm going to start doing a lot more of that in practice, trying to figure out if I can put my players in positions where they can, figure out what range they're in, if they're open in the shooting, and how to get their balance really quickly. I really liked his idea about teaching young players the hop instead of 1-2. And I noticed Dominic Schachinga, if I'm not mistaken, his name. He does a great job, especially, and I was thinking about this, especially if the drive is happening on the wing and you've got an older player getting on the corner. A lot of times players put their foot out of bounds. But I figure, like Tyler Hero from Miami Heat and Duncan Robinson, they catch the ball in the hop. And I never thought about it until Mike McKay said, but I also think for the younger ones, it's so easy, right? You just hop into your whatever alignment and you want to shoot it. So that's something I took from Mike McKay. The next thing is building connections. I think I do an okay job at that, but I think it's something I can improve on. I know Popovich and Brad Stevens, so I do follow some NBA coaches, not EuroLeague coaches, so I mentioned these guys. I think they do a great job. Popovich talks about how when his players are stretching, he goes around, up and asks them individually. I usually do it with the under-19s. When they're stretching, I will walk, so they kind of go sideline to sideline. I will walk with 3 players, like not at the same time, but each practice I will go to 3 different players. How's the family, how's school? But I don't do that enough with the under-14s. So that building connections, that's something maybe I should start doing with the under-14s a lot more. And then the other thing is the debrief, and I thought that was amazing. At the end of practice, at the end of a game, at the end of something, like at the end of this, we can do it. Agree, build, challenge, or deepen. So I offer my feedback, and Flo, do you agree? Oh, Flo, what do you think? I agree, I build. And if we're talking about developing a player, well, this is leadership developing, this is communication developing, this is speaking in public. So those were some of the things I got. Building connections, start on a positive, finish on a positive, Rob shooting, and debrief. And I think they were all easily implemented, which is also really cool about them. We don't need to wait for 2 months to do some of those things. We can just do them straight away. So those were my thoughts. And if anybody wants to jump in and offer their opinions, please go ahead.
So that's what you said with the jump stop. Yeah. This is also, it's not only easier, but you have more opportunities from that. You can start a cross step with both of your legs.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's quicker. It's much quicker from the jump step to shoot as the 1-2.
Okay.
So this is a great thing.
Anybody else? Yeah, and you were not there last week, right? Jan, are you there today?
I answer your question. He wasn't there last week.
He's still practicing.
Not sure if he's here right now, but he wasn't here last week.
You good? You good? No, just I think you would have really enjoyed it. I mean, for sure. I'm sure Max and Jan, you guys would really have enjoyed last week's talk. But yeah, Flo, Mark, what do you guys think about the things that I mentioned?
Yeah, basically, I'm completely with you. You know, like I feel like yeah, and yet I'm not, like I said, I'm not. We talked a lot already about this. You know, like
Yeah.
I feel like this is. I just want to get going, you know, and I wanna. I mean, I think it's great. This talks with the coaches and everything, you know. It makes me feel. I mean, you get every time you talk, you know, you get some new ideas, you know, you maybe a different look on something, you know, from people who really spend a lot of time doing this, you know, a lot more time than, you know, like my experience is basically just from playing, you know. I'm not a coach at all. I got my D license with Mark, but and Jan, but that's about it. That's about it. But I feel, you know, like it's a whole different perspective. You know, you got your view of things, but you don't as a player you don't think in the same way you think as a coach, and this is nice. You know, like talking to like this, you know, in a group of people who want to develop something together, you know. And yeah, like I said, I feel like this is a situation. I don't know. I haven't been involved in on this side of the club's structure that much, but I feel like this is a situation that, as far as I can think back in this way, you know, I can't remember that we have had something like this before. There were a group of people who were coaching who were really good with each other. They knew each other and stuff like this. But like everybody was doing his own thing, you know, to some extent. That we have something, you know, trying to create something to make the together bigger than the individual. I guess the sum of the individuals. You know, we haven't had that. I can't remember that we ever had that before. So thank you also to you for all the time you're willing to put. I don't know. What are you doing in Austria? I don't know what you're doing in Munich.
What am I doing in Austria? Yeah. I think I'm working for Swans. It's like, but no, I think, you know, and like for me, really, this is coaching. You know, and this is truly, you know, I missed this from my first 2 years. My first year, you know, with Coach Marcus, we spent so much time, you know, discussing and talking about the game. And, you know, every coach needs something different, whether it's X's and O's, like some coaches need that. And for me, it's, like I said, I'm a culture coach, so I talk about this all day long. And then last year, it was a lot with Coach Tanya, but I didn't feel like we as a club had people who really wanted to talk about this. So for me, when, you know, I guess Corona helped us that we can do something like this, and it seems like everybody's open to it. I think this is where you grow. It's the same as the players, right? We can talk about it in a coaching clinic, but my belief, so please don't get me wrong, I think coaching clinics and education courses for coaches are useless. I 100% believe it. This is where we will grow and learn more than going to a coaching clinic, in my opinion. But so I really enjoy this, and like the guys that we had last 3 weeks, I talk to them every third week, and next week Coach Alex Sarama is going to come on, and you've heard Matthias talk about him, but I think he's another amazing guy, and you guys get a lot out of him, especially if you guys are trying to think about how to teach technical skills through games. You will get a lot from him. And then but like, yeah, if you guys find this beneficial, perfect. If you guys, want something different for me, you just let us know, because this is for us as a club, as a group.
Yeah, like I said, for me, I mean, for me, the important thing is that we do something with it. I mean, it's good for individual too, like to learn something for yourself. But I think I feel like yeah, I think that there's some things we can do, to get more out of what we've got, even in this situation. And I think that this is a good way, like right now is a good time, to be talking about stuff like this, because like when you go to practice 5 times a week, you don't want to sit in the evening and talk for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, just like that, and this is a good point in time. And I hope, yeah, I think also if we as a group, decide to do some stuff right now, I mean, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem to try something new right now.
Yeah. I want to share with you guys a couple of things. Then Mark, I mean, I don't know what you guys' schedule is, but Mark, if you have time, I want to discuss with you what we skipped over last time. But give me a second. I'd like to share with you guys something now. Here's the first one. No, this was here. So can you guys see my? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I will send you kind of after every kind of whatever discussion we do, I type up some notes. So I will send you my notes from this in the next few days. But this is something I will send you in more detail. But one of the sports psychologists in the States, figured out there's like 8 different types of culture, because that's something we've talked a lot about. And from the culture which, is not very good in terms of results and not very good in terms of relationships, it's here, versus the culture that I think we probably want, which is these two, because then we can develop meaningful relationships, but also get high results. And even if we decide we don't want results, I think then this is where we want to be, because we are developing relationships and we're coaching, which means we have to be, coaching people. That's who we deal, not just trying to win. And you will see the difference when I send you some more details, the difference between competitive, which is obviously good, but we want constructive or championship. When I send you this again, like, you will see the difference between competitive versus constructive, because this gets results as well as build relationship. And I think that's powerful. Then the next thing I want to share with you, and this goes back to kind of what we talked about a little bit. I hope you guys can see this too. But the game for us, and this is in our development model, the game for us can be broken down into 4 different phases. It's just like we need to simplify it. And Flo and Mark talked about this early on, what we're doing in practice. So offense, transition, offense, defense, offense, transition, defense, defense, transition, offense. So all we need to do is look at our under 10, our under 12s, under 14s, under 16s, 19s. What are 3 things? Because we start with 3, then we build it up. What are 3 things that we really need to do in offense? Like at under 12, whatever it might be, we need to be able to attack the basket one-on-one. We need to be able to, pass and then cut maybe. I don't know, but this is kind of, we build on that. What are 3 things we need to be able to do in transition defense? Like at under 10s, under 11s, just maybe knowing that offense is done and we need to turn around and play defense. Maybe that. And if that's how simple it is, then by the end of the season that those 3 things have been ticked off. But we don't need to complicate it, especially at the youth level. I think under 19, then it can be a bit more complicated. Now, this is here in this document for each age group. It's there for you guys, obviously, to see, but then we can discuss it and we can say, like, I think this needs to be changed, or that needs to be changed, or blah, blah, blah. but this is a general one. And then at each age group, there is one designed for that. So guys, if you have some time, go back and look at the document and then see at under 12 what we need to do, under 14 what we need to do, under 16. And then we can come back and say, look, we can change it or we can do this. There's another one that I will send. Again, I will send you some stuff. Like, please don't feel any which way. If I send you too much stuff, you don't have to look at it. But the other stuff is like kind of how I go through my practice planning process. Like, what do I look like? And Matthias, Jan, you guys would have seen this because last year we put it up on the coaches Google Drive. We had a Google Drive for coaches last year where we put all the stuff. I don't know if we should go back. This year we're using the team app and the documents are up there, but I don't know, Flo and Max, if you guys are using it, or would you prefer I send it to you on WhatsApp? Would you prefer, just tell me how you guys want it and I'll send you that stuff. But I'll send you kind of, so you guys have an idea of how I plan my practices, because at the start I'd be like this is a teaching drill, or this is a phase B drill, or this is a, you know, and Jan, you would have seen that when we worked together with the under 11s, you would have seen kind of how I do it. I think moving on from here, for sure now, under 14s, under 19s, we're hoping to start back with him next week. If you guys have some time and want to come down and help me coach, I would love it. If you guys want to come down and watch because you're bored at the house, assuming the corona restrictions allow it, you're more than welcome. But I think for me, I'm going to implement straight away, starting on a positive, ending on a positive. I'm going to try and implement ice, because I think that's what we all said we can do. So then it becomes consistent, because for us to move forward as a club, then we as coaches need to do the same things. I'm not talking about offense and defense, but having the same standards. If we say we value respect, and one thing that me and Matthias have been trying to do, and Mark as well, guys, when you come into practice, first thing you do is fist bumps. Now it's difficult, Corona, you don't want contact. But after that, like, you know, we start building. So if we say this is the value, then this is the action. So there is clear, like, we don't talk about respect and do nothing. We don't talk about community and do nothing. We talk about a value, but we give them, like, this is what it looks like. And so these are some things I'm going to do, and I think we should start doing. Definitely ice, definitely starting on a positive, finishing on a positive. Does anybody have anything else that we as a club want to do? Because I guess I'm lucky that I'm going to start practice before you guys and I can start doing it. So what else do we need to start doing?
I might implement UAE as well.
Yeah. Do you like it? Like, there are some stuff that I do that, because like in the last 3 weeks, I haven't told you guys what I do in my practice. You would have seen it if you came to my practice, but I can also share with you some stuff. But Max, you like the UAE stuff?
Totally, because it's again, it's about self-reflecting, you know, like also like to have kids, you know, to self-reflect and like decide on the situation. I think it's really important, and I think makes everybody, you know, grow and aware.
Anything else, guys?
I will be thankful for your infos or documents, because I said you last week, I need this. How I need to communicate. How can I build this communicate culture with the players? This what I need to know, or more. I need more to know.
Can I just jump on what Matthias said? So, saying I know everything, guys, but Matthias and me have been working a little bit this season, where Matthias is sharing with me some of his strengths as a coach, some of his weaknesses as a coach, and we're kind of helping each other to develop each other. So like you just heard Matthias say, he wants to learn and be better at communicating with his players and stuff. So if any of you guys feel comfortable, and if any of you guys will trust me a little bit, if you guys want to, you know, share with me and allow me to work with you to help develop you, I'm here for you guys. If you don't have to, it's entirely optional, but I believe that not only do we need to develop our players, we also need to develop our coaches. So if you guys want it, get in touch, and like we can sit down and we can come up with Flo, you know, we're putting out a player development program well, we're also doing a coach development program. So if you guys want, I'm, willing and will be delighted to work with everyone. So.
What I also really like to implement, because we are talking about UAE, ICE, and so on, like I also know KISS. I don't know if you heard about it, but
Yeah.
it's stupid, but for me, it's always like I'm explaining something to kids and then it gets complicated and I'm like in my head, okay, let me break it down, let me make it simple, KISS is like keep it simple, stupid, like this is just a reminder for me, makes it so much easier for kids if you really break it down and start like from the total breakdown. Sometimes like we skip steps because things are so normal for us, or like we never thought about like explaining something like that, like starting with like layup is so complex, there's so much in it, like you need to be able to break it down. So for me, KISS, it's maybe something that people laugh about, but for me always it's always in my head, and it just reminds me, so this is something I really like,
Perfect. Okay, Mark, do you have some few more minutes?
Sure.
Perfect. So the one thing we kind of skipped was, we talked about kind of changing. So would you mind telling me a little bit, or sharing your thoughts about what we've done, what you think we need to change, and a little bit about why, and then if the coaches don't mind, we discuss it and then we make a decision how we change it or what we change.
Maybe just start at the beginning right now. The situation is with over 50 kids on our minis. That's pretty a lot, and we have 3.5 or 4 coaches, because Sam is not really a coach. He wants to be there, and we like it and we need it that it's here, but we have 3 coaches for over 50 kids. That's a pretty tough situation overall. And we have, I guess the youngest is 6 or 7, and the oldest
Something
kids
like
are
that.
11 or 12. So it's the spread is really huge in that situation. The question is what we're going to do. We got beginners like Fahim. How is Fahim? 13 is older than the original age group. He's physically bigger and everything, but he cannot even walk, to say it really hard. So our major focus was how to put everybody together in a practice group, and every coach is with every player one time to get comfortable and get a feeling for it. So we split it in 3 groups, skill-wise, what we thought skill-wise. And we're moving players on different exercises from group A to B or C or whatever. But I'm not pretty sure if this is really the right way right now. Because we know, or that the players know, that this is the better group and this is the weaker group. Sure they know. We have some dumb nuts in there also, but overall they know it. It's the question, is it good for them or is it bad for them? There are kids that are getting motivated to move up the ladder in the better group. We had time, we moved up and down, but I'm not sure if this is right. Do we hurt them or do we help them? I'm putting them on the beginner group or on the advanced group or whatever. I guess that's a hard question that nobody really can answer. But I asked the same question to Coach McKay last week, and he said you can mix it up for different exercises, different drills, or even for the games, for the practice games. But you also gotta bring them all together in some other exercises. And I guess this is what we're not doing right now, or not really doing right now. And we maybe could do this better. Just my thoughts. I'm not sure if someone agrees or disagrees, because I just think it's hard. We also had that idea. Let me finish the sentence real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Had that idea in the group to make 4 teams. We could also schedule it down. It's like even good players, weak players, and average players in between are one team. On the exercises, they can collect points or bonus points or whatever. So we keep them together and make them work together. They're gonna know each other better, even the social stuff a little, because they are together then as one group. And on the exercises, they split up and do different stuff for themselves. I'm not sure if it's clear right now what I mean. Nabil, you should know it because we talked about it already.
I hope I know it. So I think if I just summarize what Mark's saying, I think the main thing is that at the moment we've got 3 groups. Out of the 50 kids, we've got the NBA, which is what we think is the beginner level. We've got the EuroLeague, which is the medium level, Super League, which is the advanced group per those guys. And we're not sure right now whether it's a good idea to keep them split up in those groups. And I think the main reason we're not sure is because does it harm them from a social, psychological point of view? Not necessarily skill-wise, correct, Mark? It's social development. So then, so that's kind of the question. Should we keep it that way? Should we change it? But I think it's also important to discuss why for anything. So the why we think about changing, it's not socially or psychologically good. So then, everybody else, share your thoughts about that.
How many times a week is this situation? Is this twice? Okay. Well, I guess for the drills themselves, like for working with the kids, I think it's easier to have like for this size of a group to have them separated to some extent. But like you said, like if you find enough ways, like to have them in the group they feel comfortable in, like, or like they belong to, where the friends are at, where the kids of the same age group are at, then I don't see, I don't know, like later on you wouldn't work with everybody on the same level. That's individual work, I think, like, and if you have such a big group and you want to provide a good situation, the best environment where they can, like, for a technical drill or like whatever, if you can't dribble, it doesn't make sense to take part in with your group, like, so I think, yeah, like you said, like you already pointed out, like this ways, like to have maybe games, where you have or like maybe start out in the groups they feel most comfortable in, or they belong to with the age group, and then say, okay, now we're doing this and you go over there and whatever, or like I don't know. But I don't think that the best way to handle this is to say, okay, from now on we're gonna have everybody all the time in their group of in their age group or wherever they belong to.
Ja, das geht auch fast nicht. Du hast halt einfach in dem Level so viele Anfänger, du hast einen 12-jährigen Anfänger und du hast einen 8-jährigen, der schon 3 Jahre lang irgendwo mitspielt. Der ist eigentlich schon besser, aber halt 2 Köpfe kleiner, die bringst du auch nicht gescheit unter. Darum ist es immer schwierig, dass du eine richtige Kombination hast.
See, I think with that, Mark, the beginner level, the NBA is not really of a problem, because other than the numbers is a problem, but other than the numbers, NBA is not really a problem because it's the very beginners guys who can't play. And I think that's like the introduction. I think where we come to the problem is between the intermediate, the EuroLeague and Super League, because then we have players who are not at the Super League level playing at the EuroLeague level, but correct age group is, because not because it's the right age group, but because most of the players in the Super League level are that age, not because we've said that this is the age. The difficulty with the middle group is that's where we have the goofballs, as you put it. So then when you put all the goofballs together in the same group, guess what happens? But when you separate them and you put them in this group, well, they start to distract. In my opinion, they will start to distract. So now what I'm worried about is will the level of the Super League come down a little bit because we've got a couple of goofballs? It will make it easier for the EuroLeague coach because he's got less goofballs to deal with. That's Jan's group. But
So the bit good balls, you mean crazy kids or?
yeah, crazy kids.
Okay.
So I mean, so that's kind of my thought process. Now, listening to Puff and Mike, I think they both kind of highlighted the things that Mark is saying. And I think Mike said, obviously, it's easier for a kid to play up than it is for a kid to play down. And he said that can obviously cause some difficulties psychologically and socially. So I get that point. And Puff said, it doesn't matter if a kid's a beginner or not, he just puts them in the deep end, right? So he just takes a kid and go against the best player. So it's an interesting talk because I don't believe we've had enough time to make an accurate analysis or evaluation of our system. But at the same time, it's great that we can have this conversation and see, well, maybe we can change a couple of things, but what to change?
Yeah, we changed one thing after the first couple of weeks, maybe just for the round, because we had three groups, and we divided it. I coached one, Jan coached the other one, and Milos and Sam did the third one. But you don't even meet every player then on the team. So we decided on our first practice. It's on Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
Tuesday we keep it, yeah, and on Friday we do it like you did on summer camp. It's like a station practice. That's the ball handling station with Jan, the shooting station there, and the fun station there, and then we play and stuff like that. I don't know if it's a good idea. It worked out. The kids were happy because I guess that's the reason we had over 50. And some of them who quit at the beginning of the season or in the summertime came back because their friend said it's that much fun. I'm not sure. We got some good feedback overall, but I'm not super happy with the situation we had.
So Mark, can I throw a suggestion? So just a suggestion, just tell me your thoughts. So we've got EuroLeague, NBA Super League when we come back, because we don't even know if we're coming back this year. But now we also have the 4 teams, let's just say red, blue, yellow, green. So in each league, we've got 4 teams. Okay, so red, blue, yellow, green. It could be a case where we say first 10 minutes of practice or first segment of practice, you go to your league, second segment of practice, we take yellow team here, blue team here, red team here. So now we've already decided to mix them. Next segment, we could go, I need yellow from EuroLeague and this league. So then, we could almost control it. I don't know how it will work until we see it. But then we could also, we're mixing it up, but also they're still having the league. So we're not changing the system. We're just changing how we put it into practice.
How we rotate the players, yeah.
Because I think that's the main concern, right? So we want the kids not to feel like when you're here, you're only here, you cannot play with those kids. So that way, now we're mixing the levels, we're mixing the age groups. And if we have blue versus red, it becomes that competition, which we talked about, because regardless of which league you're in, the red team will get points for red team, blue team will get points. So so the coaches who aren't familiar with what we've talked with Mark, we're discussing in each league you have 4 teams, but let's say in the EuroLeague, if red team beats a blue team, well, red team gets points for every league with red team, because even though they're in different leagues, they're the same team. They're working with each other. And then at the end of the week, the points accumulate. So maybe the red team was the winner of this week, blue team for next week. And then whoever gets kid of the week, camper, player of the week, he gets points for his team, not his league, but his team. So we start to facilitate some teamwork within, this is just some thoughts that we were discussing with Mark.
Yeah,
but
I also think it's difficult for the kids to create or develop a team feeling, because one practice they're there, then they're with these kids, and then so we have 40 or 52 kids,
yeah,
in 3 teams, but I would call it more groups, because I think
Yeah.
can't really develop a team feeling,
But for me, especially with the minis, I'm not really. I'm maybe I'm just weird, but I'm not really worried about team. In that, I mean, a sense of cooperation, a sense of togetherness, a sense of working with each other. That for me is, but like a team, like I think individualism at that stage for me, it's more important, along with cooperation. So Jan being an individual, and Matthias and Mark, and so for me, it doesn't matter what we called it. Like my original idea was calling it a house system, not even a team. And the original idea was to get the entire club in a house system. So under 19 is red, blue, yellow, green. We don't have to call these colors. It could be anything. But like everybody, so now the under 19 care about what the yellow team in under 12 is because they're yellow team. I don't know if you guys have watched Harry Potter, but that's the system, right? Ravenclaw. Do you guys know Harry Potter, or am I just being really weird right now?
First movies.
Right. So that's the idea where, it doesn't matter what class you're in school, you get points for your group, your house. And at the end of the year, you get an award. You're the best house. Now, that's kind of the schooling system where I grew up in. We didn't call it Harry Potter style, but it was green, yellow, blue, red. But even when it came to sports days and when we did testing, it was blue versus red. So it didn't matter. I was class 6 and he was class 7. It was me and you working together to beat the red team or the blue team. So that was just an idea me and Mark were talking about, how to incorporate more competitiveness, more togetherness, more social, elements and stuff like that. But I do think the psychological side that we can obviously work a little bit to help implement that.
And it's also the point we have split it up skill-wise, and then we have games, regular games. Yeah, they don't even know the name of their teammates because they're 52 and they're young and they're goofing around.
Yeah,
because they don't see each other. We saw that on the game we had against Flo's team.
yeah.
Good, it was the first game and the last game and the only game and whatever, and they had absolutely no chance to be there. But you see, they don't know. They had no clue what to do in a situation. Everybody was looking for one kid because he's the best player on the team. Okay, save our ass. No chance.
So
they don't have chemistry because they don't know each other. They don't even practice in the same group on different days. So
for me, Mark, this comes back to like our philosophy. I know that for sure is 100% a difficult thing. But if we're saying we don't really care about winning, I mean, we do care. I get it. We do care about winning. But if we're saying we're not really about winning at that stage, we're about developing and stuff, then the results shouldn't matter. But then we've only played one game, so we haven't really had more competition, so we haven't had really time to build that team spirit. Maybe it will not work, but I think based on that one situation where the players are looking for the best player, like for sure players know and they want to win, but it doesn't matter about winning at that stage.
It's not that hard because it's like Flo and me were talking after the game. They were just the way better team. There was no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But they gotta know just a little bit. I'm not talking about team. It's more like, okay, I know you. You're the guy.
Yeah.
Your name is Nabil. And we had that in practice because we're doing a lot of know their name passing drill because they get hit in the face all the time because they go, hey, I'm passing to you. But what's my name? I don't know. You know what I mean?
So the question then becomes
a team, but I don't even they gotta even know who they are.
So the question then becomes, within our practice of 52 players, how can we get guys to know each other a little bit more?
Yeah.
So it's not really about splitting them up. It's how can we do that? How can we get them to understand each other, get to know each other in that environment?
Yeah, it's more like a social thing for me. Because if we have that house groups, maybe, because we're thinking about it, and they go to the same school. There's one on the 4th grade and one on the 2nd grade, or whoever. And they're in the same house group. Usually they would not talk to each other.
Mark, so that was what Alex Sarama, he does a really good job with that. He said if he has a women camp, the first game what he does with the girls, they need to, Entschuldigung, ich werde auf Deutsch reden. Also sie müssen mit Dribbling zu den anderen hingehen und sich vorstellen und dann nach einem solche Connection sozusagen, dann gehst schnell auf die Seitenlinie, berührst die Linie, dann suchst du eine andere Mädchen oder andere Mitspieler und gehst du wieder hin, während dem Dribbling stellst du dich wieder vor und währenddessen arbeitest du an deinem Ballhandling, lernst du die anderen kennen und kannst du diese Dinge sofort sozusagen auflockern mit solche kleine Spiele.
Ja, das ist fürs Aufwärmen zum Beispiel genau das, was wir machen. Aber wenn du die Aufwärmgruppen schon splittest, zum Beispiel, wird es schwierig, weil du siehst den gar nicht.
Ja, aber in diesem Fall, du brauchst die nicht splitten.
Nein, da geht's.
Einfach
wir
dribbeln
machen-
kann jedes Kind.
Wir machen die Aufwärmübungen großteils dann, wenn die oben, alle 50 Kinder, ist halt ein kompletter Saustall, aber ist egal. Aber du kriegst zumindest ein bisschen mehr da rein. Aber du musst halt dann auch irgendwann bei den Übungen trotzdem auch vielleicht den nur mitziehen. Es kann sich ja auch schlechter von einem Guten in einer Übung was abschauen, wenn die in derselben Gruppen sind.
Ja, aber
Marc, ganz ehrlich, das ist was, du musst dem Zeit geben. Das braucht einfach Zeit. Und wenn es in dem ersten Jahr ist, dann im zweiten, also das sortieren sich auch viele Kinder aus, es kommen neue dazu. Ich glaube einfach, das ist eine Frage der Zeit. Man muss einfach solche Sachen wachsen lassen. Es finden sich dann Gruppen zusammen bei den Kindern, der spielt lieber mit dem, bei den Spielen lernen sie sich kennen, was ich meine, das gehört alles dazu. Das braucht einfach auch alles Zeit. Gerade wenn ihr so viele Kinder habt, also 50 Stück, das wirst du nicht. Ich würde jetzt da keine Namen tun, das macht nur Druck auf die Kinder. Die lernen sie dann schon kennen. Weißt du, was ich meine? Du musst doch mal alle Namen kennen. Weißt du, was ich meine? Ja, das ist auch nicht so ohne. Aber ich glaube, das braucht einfach Zeit. Einfach Geduld und Zeit. Mein Senf, sorry.
Gut.
Hey, just to let you guys know, I love disagreement. I don't feel weird if you're disagreeing. I love this because that's where we come together, right? We clash. If you say yes to everything, then there is no growth, right? So Mark, don't worry, Mark is not going to be offended.
What?
Just flips the table and throws the plate.
Fuck that.
All right, so Mark, let's finalize, I guess, how, because I think at the end of the day, we need to make a decision when we come back how we do things. So, like, let's tell me what your thoughts are right now, and we try it, man. I'm easy to try. I mean, you've heard our opinions, but you make
To be
the
honest,
decision
I
here.
don't think we're coming back till September.
Ah, so then we have time to think about it.
Because I don't see any system or any concept where we can arrange that with the kids before. I got no idea.
And if we do, you probably have to split up in groups of 10 anyway.
It depends out of 52 who's coming back. 17. 2.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah,
I guess that's also how much kids are we losing right now.
I agree with that. We will not come back till September. I agree that we will lose some kids, but I think this is an uncontrollable situation. There's nothing we can do. For sure, look, we will think about it some more. We'll come up with some plans, but yeah, for me, our youth side, minis, under 12s, they're the most important. And we talk about culture with, you know, everybody. Well, we can set the standards with them the best and the earliest, so that by the time they get to under 14, under 16, we're not teaching them this stuff. It's in the system. They know these things. So maybe we just need to do a better job of recruiting. I don't know if we're allowed to recruit here under 12s, but we will figure it out. Other than that, I will wrap this up because we've been going for, I like talking to you guys, but I also like, to eat food and to sleep. Next week, we got Coach Alex Sarama. If you guys have any questions for him, if you have any thoughts you want to ask, let me know. I'll send it to him. Matis, I've already got yours, so we'll get it sorted. Other than that, guys, just let me know how you want to do things and be good.
Cool.
Right.
Thanks, Nabil.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.
Tschüss.